Hey everybody. I've gotten a lot of responses from my coming out video, most of which were very positive, so thank you guys. Some of them were kind of asking me how I reached that conclusion, and that's kind of what this video is going to be about. That really started in high school. For those of you that don't know, I was homeschooled up until high school, so the purpose of that, I think, was to raise me in a Christian environment and with those beliefs, as opposed to the kind of secular worldview that I would get if I were in public school. So high school was really my first experience with anything that didn't align with those Christian beliefs. Biology was kind of the first real step in that direction. I was expecting, as a kind of fundamentalist Christian, that the evolution section was going to be anti-religion type, section of the class. So I was getting myself geared up to kind of combat that. I was expecting to be the only person in the class who was going to take a stand for my faith. So I went over kind of what, creationism taught, and was ready to kind of fight that in this class. Well, when it actually happened, when we actually took the course on evolution, it was taught just like any other part of the class. It was taught as something that scientists have done research on, and this is what they found in the natural world. And there was nothing anti-religion in it. There was no change your ways or else kind of thing. It was just, pretty standard course. And I didn't have to, take a stand or anything. It was part of the test. I took the test, and that was it. So that was a little bit of a surprise, that it was just kind of taught like anything else. It wasn't like the school was trying to get rid of all religious beliefs, which now, me knowing that I'm in the South, I realized that wouldn't have happened anyway. But it was a surprise when it actually happened. And I found out later on that the guy who taught that biology course was a Catholic, so there really wasn't going to be any anti-religion in his class anyway. My next big realization was in a literature class. This was 11th or 12th grade. And one of the exercises we did in this class was we looked over creation myths. We took a look at a lot of different cultures' creation myths, and we even were supposed to create our own creation myth based around certain ideas, and then the Christian creation myth was in there as well. And it was at that point that I realized this is just as strange an idea as most of the other myths that we talk about, and if not stranger. So that was kind of a jarring moment as well. And beyond that, I didn't really think about it until college. And I mean, I had other things on my mind. I was in bands. I had to worry about classes. It was just it wasn't high on my list of priorities. So it wasn't really until, again, biology in college that a lot of the evolutionary concepts were brought up again. And again, they were taught in this very, similar light to the rest of the course, as it should be. And it made me realize that, the scientists that study this aren't out to destroy religion. They're simply studying the facts and presenting what they find. So I thought, well, that's strange. That's not what I figured was going on. And one of the other things that happened in this class was he talked about some of the evidence for creation as opposed to evolution, and he explained why none of them made sense, or why evolution explained away those concepts, so it wasn't actually evidence against it. So that was interesting to see. And then also I took a couple of astronomy classes in college, and they just kind of they show you how stars are formed, how planets form on those stars, how big this universe actually is. And it made me realize, out of the, hundreds of billions of galaxies, there's hundreds of billions of stars per galaxy, tons of planets out there. It kind of made me think, well, maybe it's simply probability that there were going to be some planets in this kind of habitable place for life. And it started to make more sense as I kind of looked through all of the evidence that's out there. That kind of made me realize, well, maybe I should take another look at this stuff. So at that point I started, researching what the Bible had to say about the creation of the universe, and there were a lot of things in there that just don't line up, and a lot of things that I was told growing up, that is still told now, that's simply not true in the Bible, or about the Bible. The creation myth in the Bible, first of all, there's two different stories there. There's the chapter 1 Genesis is one story. If you look at chapter 2 of Genesis, there's another order in there of how things were created, which doesn't make sense if both of them are supposed to be true. And I've looked up, well, if Noah's Ark was built to those specifications, it would have destroyed itself. It couldn't sustain the weight. It couldn't sustain the waves. It would have torn itself apart. The Ten Commandments are not the Ten Commandments that everybody thinks that they are. So that'll maybe be another video. So it was a lot of these stories where I realized they can't possibly have been true. There's no way that they would make any sense. And if parts of the Bible aren't true, then what I was taught, that the entire Bible is to be taken as fact, is not going to work. So that made me kind of reevaluate that. It's like, well, I continued to look through Bible stories and see this really doesn't work. This is several different interpretations of what is supposed to be one God, and it looked more and more like this is just what people would come up with in these situations. These are stories being told, not actual events. I started thinking, well, I definitely can't believe in the God of the Bible. That's just, it's impossible for me at this point. So that's when I started calling myself an agnostic. And the word agnostic just means I don't know. And that's a term that I think everybody can say about themselves. Because if you're a Christian, you don't know, you have faith, which I would define as the belief in something without there being supporting evidence. And I can't do that, but that is, I think, the stance that Christians take. They believe in something with either personal evidence, something has happened to you that you consider a reason to believe in a God, but there's no kind of external proof. There's no external evidence for your belief. And anybody else is agnostic because you can't disprove that there is a God. I can't prove that there is no God, so I say I don't know. And that was kind of the way that I felt for a long time. It's like, well, maybe there's something out there. I can't know. There's no way that I can prove that there is. But if somehow, someday, it happens, then okay, then I'll be fine with that. And to a certain degree, that's kind of where I am now, because I can't, like I said, I can't prove that there is no God. But since there's no evidence for that, and since there's no evidence for something as ridiculous as flying unicorns, I'm going to live my life in such a way that I am acting that those things don't exist. And at that point I was like, okay, I'm going to start calling myself an atheist, because that's really where I'm at. I don't know that there's no God, but I'm going to live my life as if there isn't one, because I see no proof that there is. So that's kind of my journey towards atheism. If you have any comments or questions about this, be sure to, leave them in the comments section on here or on Facebook. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys next time.